Hi, it's Amy Thorne, CEO of DBM and the SCLA, and I have special guest Jayne Franchino here, who is the Senior Vice President of Global Operations for Pearson. Jayne, welcome to the C-Suite interviews. We're so excited to have you.
Amy, thanks so much. It's great to be here with you.
Yeah, we're excited. So you are an amazing leader. You've had an incredible background, many different leadership positions over the years for a lot of diversity in companies. So in your opinion, what do you think is the one characteristic that leaders need to thrive in the future of the 21st century?
Well, that's a really great question, and you're limiting me to one characteristic, but there's a couple that come to mind. I guess at the top of mind, especially with what everybody's going through right now, I would say resilience, and resilience in the face of change, because we're all going through it, whether it's transforming your company, transforming your business models, or reacting to a global pandemic. Resilience comes out in many shapes and forms. It's almost a capacity to be able to reimagine and reinvent yourself as leaders, given situational leadership and situations you might not even imagine, and just the resilience to lead your team through those unimaginable circumstances and be able to emerge maybe with new products, new capabilities, and new ways of thinking in the future. So resilience would come to the top of my list.
It's great. And in some ways, do you think that female leaders are more inclined to be resilient than others? I think about that's a characteristic that I would say a lot of women have naturally, being easily adaptable, resilient, pivoting, based on change.
I'd like to think so. I think certainly from my experiences, and not just my personal experiences, but other female leaders that I partner with. And again, particularly in these times, I think what female leadership brings to the table that's also very important is an empathy, whether it be empathy for what our employees are going through or empathy for our customers. I think it is a strength and a characteristic. And then certainly that diversity and inclusion, whether it's gender or culture, or ethnic background, or just different disciplines and different industries. I think females can be very inclusive in that way as well. And we all know how important that is.
Absolutely. And we've had this huge shift for people working from home. Entire workforces have been home because of COVID, looks like maybe home for another 6 months. In your opinion, how has that changed the business culture for the better?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. And in a lot of cases, there's been a very bimodal approach to this. Either everybody has felt like they need to be in the office or completely remote is acceptable. I think what we've learned now during COVID particularly is there's a great capacity and a great technology capability for individuals to work from home, work remotely in different environments. And it not necessarily even out of an office, but thinking and rethinking about ways of working and different ways to meet your customer in the marketplace, find collaboration spaces that may not be traditional offices. And in some ways, when we come back to empathy and listening and understanding, I think these remote ways of working and new ways of working actually bring us closer to understanding our employees or understanding some of the challenges of our customers as well. Even when you find you don't need to be face to face or physically located in an office to achieve some really remarkable outcomes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's been proven that in some instances, almost across the board, we have moved that needle farther during these COVID times than we ever thought was possible, regardless of what the business process was. And the teams were able to energize, come together, be led and make a difference. So I think that's definitely been a positive. But don't you feel that the digital technology has really enabled that and will continue to do so as we're embracing 5G and other advances?
Absolutely. I think we have the foundation that, Perhaps we used in a different capacity when we weren't actually, I'll say, forced to be working remotely as much as we are. I think each of us has learned the capability of the digital technology that has, enabled us to be able to work remotely and collaborate in this manner. And I think it's amazing, even just what you and I are doing here and how we're really embracing, the masses with our messages. So I think before pre-COVID, we may not have utilized or even depended on some of the collaboration technology to the extent that we're doing today. And while it's nice, I mean, one size doesn't fit all. And clearly, while it's nice to be face to face, I think we've learned that, we can find new ways to get together.
Mhm.
And there's still a real necessity in some cases, depending on the role and depending on what you're trying to accomplish, that you do need to find a way to, physically engage.
Absolutely. And when you're bringing on a new team member, whether it was, before COVID or now during this challenging time, is there one trait that you look for more than others for people that are out there, looking to be that leading executive of tomorrow? What advice would you give them? What are you looking for?
I think particularly in these times, it's really, really interesting to get somebody that's not just passionate, because we talk about passion in many different ways, but ultimately curious. And that curiosity is a great trait to have because we are changing so many things in the way we work and how we're going to market in our digital transformation, that curiosity helps you find new ways to go to market, find new products and services to deliver. And that curiosity gene, if you will, can lead to a much greater outcome than just being satisfied or even bringing experiences of the past. Curiosity allows you to build on those experiences of the past and kind of reimagine what it could be in the future, and not just plan for today, but look at where trends are going. I guess data insights would be another really important point to marry with that curiosity. The more that we can utilize data and insights and customer insights in particular, that curiosity will help us to create and develop new solutions for the future.
I love that. And there's a little bit of risk taking, don't you think, with the curiosity? You're curious about something, you're trying to figure out a new way, and you're open to new ideas.
For
So,
sure. And I do think it helps with speed to market as well, to
mhm.
try some things, see how they're received. And yes, that risk factor is there, but without risk, you're not going to get that great reward.
You're not going to get there. I completely agree with you, being a risk taker myself. Now, have you led differently with your remote teams? Anything that you're doing different that you think's been a secret of your success?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been big on being in market with my team. I've always had global roles. And for me, it's been so important to visit the teams in market, understand what they're going through, how their customer sets differ. And I'd been going through market visits early in my Pearson career pre-COVID. Now we've been doing this very much in a digital virtual format. Just because we're not traveling and getting on a plane doesn't mean we can't get together at all levels of the organization. So communication meetings and town halls, those are pretty much, business as usual. But I've really been going deep into the organization, having many one-on-ones. We've found ways to celebrate with our team members, whether it be a wedding shower or an anniversary, virtual coffee hours, virtual celebrations. Back to creativity, it's really made us think differently in terms of how we celebrate those moments and how we really get the pulse of what's happening with our leadership team and with our employee team. So we had to think differently and concentrate on it and focus. But I think as a result of it, our team has developed a much more intimate relationship and really understood not just what's going on with you, Amy, but what's happening with the family, and how are you coping, and how is everybody dealing with the stresses, because we have some enhanced stressors as we're all going through this together.
Yeah. And it gets back to the empathy point that you were making earlier. You know how important it is to bring that empathy. to everybody that you're working with, whether you're leading them or, just being a member of the team. So I love that. And it sounds like obviously you have leveraged digital technology, communication tools. From a supply chain, you've really had to reinvent also. What are some of those things that have come into play maybe as you have reorganized the supply chain for more of a digital experience for your customers?
Yeah, well, we've been fortunate in that as a result of what we're going through in the pandemic, we've had a great platform within Pearson, across Pearson, to deliver digital content and digital media and educational materials. As a result of this, it's actually accelerated our capability and grown our digital content in many, many countries. And one thing that we're doing specifically in the supply chain is we've partnered heavily with HP to bring a print on demand capability so that coming out of this pandemic and whatever future challenges we have, we're not so dependent on a physical distribution network, physical manufacturing network, but we have a software capability based on content repositories with our HP partnership that, given an order, even in small quantities of one or mass production, that local printers can actually fulfill content materials, print on demand, and distribute directly. So not only is it a great digital capability for our supply chain, think about inventory obsolescence. Those are all cost objectives that are great to optimize, but it's also great from a sustainability standpoint in terms of less dependence on warehousing, transportation. We're in market where the demand is. So we really have a big focus and effort, and it's a huge contributor to our sustainability goals for 2030 as well.
I love it. And I love that sustainability is a win through all of this, because I think it's, across the board and industries. We're hearing so much more about it. So it's good for our environment too. Well, wonderful. Like, have you been also, I know with the SCLA, we're all about collaboration. That's a think tank. Don't you think that those relationships too are just so important? The power of relationships and lifelines out there that can help you through, these challenging times.
Absolutely. And I do think, in my short tenure with the SCLA, it's an amazing set of individuals, companies, capabilities that you've really brought together that I do believe you never know where one relationship will take you. And even if it's an unattended consequence, I think it can be very productive just in terms of bringing the power of networking and different points of view together. You really can't imagine what you can achieve as a result of being part of the network and really opening up and collaborating and finding new ways of partnering together. So it's a wonderful thing. And that's really easy to do virtually, as you've led us through this in terms of, the weekly calls and how a lot of my peer group are solving similar problems.
Mm-hmm. Despite the industry, I agree. So together we can accomplish so much more, Jayne, and it's been wonderful having you. And thank you so much for joining us today on the C-Suite Commentaries. You're a fabulous leader. I have a lot of admiration for you. And I loved your pearls of wisdom. I'm sure others will as well.
Thank you so much, Amy. I really enjoy the partnership and appreciate the time today.